a very good morning, a very good afternoon, or a very good evening. Welcome to today's broadcast of the Hindu Academy team. My name is Nishit Kotak. I will be your host for the few minutes ahead. So, if you are somebody who's just joined us new to the broadcast, let me just explain how this broadcast works. We run every week on Saturday, 2 o'clock UK time. The broadcast will run for about 50 to 60 minutes. And what we do is we talk about Hinduism. So, how can you get involved? If you're following us on our social media channels, we would be on youtube.com/Hindu Academy, or you can find us on facebook.com/Hindu Academy. You can get involved by liking, sharing, and inviting your friends and family to join this broadcast so that you can then all ask us your questions, which we can try and answer live on anything to do with the topic of Hinduism. Today is a very, very special day in the sense that we are going to be talking about one of the most loved festivals in the Hindu calendar, and that is the festival of Diwali. And that is traditionally known as the festival of lights, and is a much loved one for many, many reasons. And it's very colorful, very bright, and it's got many other significances around it. So what we will do is we're going to look at a little video. This video is going to introduce the topic for us. Then we will have a little discussion around it. So in the meanwhile, if you could just put your comments and questions and wishes, whatever you want to convey, on the chat area on Facebook or YouTube, and then we will pick it up from there. So enjoy this video, and I will be back shortly.
You see, there are a lot of lectures going on in London or around in the UK regarding the importance, significance of Diwali. And I tell you, most of the speakers, I sit and smile. They say, Diwali means, it sounds so nice, victory of good over evil, thumb the evil guys. And it's like, I said, okay. This is the if you like, the external aspect of Diwali. Ram, killing this 10-headed Ravan, the horrible monster. This is pure Star Wars. Diwali is much more than Star Wars, friends. Watch it. It's not just Star Wars, fireworks and feasting, and we destroy Ravan. Oh, Ram is so good. There's much more to it. Let me tell you the deeper aspect of Diwali. You'll be surprised with the deeper depth of Diwali's understanding that I'm going to present. First of all, they give the basics. There's this great hero of ancient India, returned from his exile into Ayodhya. It was a dark night, so they had to light a lot of little oil lamps called Diva, and a row of oil lamps are called Deepavali, and from there we shortened it to Diwali. That's the name, how we acquired the name. But I'm you the deeper dimension. You won't get it anywhere, I'm telling you, because when I look at all the speakers, what are they saying? Yes, good over evil, light over darkness. Okay, we're fine now. But there's a deeper dimension, much more deeper than you can even imagine what Diwali holds. First of all, Diwali is this. It is not celebrating just some kind of historic event that this Ram came back. It is in a way celebrating what Ram stands for. This is the scientific reason. Why is this Ram so powerful? We had lots of other kings as well, lots of very colorful, very brave kings. But why does this king stand out, and why do we celebrate his return to Ayodhya? Why? I tell you why. Many interesting reasons. First of all, we see in the history of humanity the first time a king who was not living for property, possession, increasing his empire, was living for principles, not property and possession. Most kings were just property, possession, marry all the beautiful women and collect everything, all the gold and everything. This king said, couldn't be bothered. For a principle, he left his luxuries, he walked into a forest, exile for 14 years, just for principle. See, first time we see human beings not living for purely material reasons, living for ideal. If you like a principle that they love, they attract to, they are prepared to abandon their material needs for a principle-oriented ideal. That is what Ram stands for, living for principles rather than just possession, property. That's what most human beings do. Most kings did until even up to now. First feature. Remember this. A person who kind of focusing on ideals rather than material gains is far superior. So that's first thing that we see in the story of Ram. The second feature we see in the story of Ram, which is really catches my heart, and really, and that's why I'm really very proud that I belong to a nation that they produce a hero like Ram. Throughout his life, he never lived for himself. He lived for others. Never for himself. I want my luxury. You look at all the modern kings. I'm giving an example of Prince Charles. He was chasing after this beautiful married woman while he is already married. What kind of ideal is that? So here we see a king who was living with high principles and never lived for his personal fancies, his personal ambitions. He lived for the greater good. See, again, a major feature of this Ram. To the extent, to what extent? So he lived, in fact, not for himself, but for the greater good. This is why he exiled Sita. Because he noticed that the moral fabric of his nation was being disturbed. And Sita and Ram said, we'd rather set a good example. So he sent Sita into exile, not because he's a horrible monster or a horrible husband, for the betterment of the greater good. Same with Sita. She said, no problem. So we will suffer. Both of us, we love each other, we have to be separated because the society must learn a good lesson from us. See? Living for others throughout his life. The third thing that I like about this man, this grand master of Hinduism, is this. In the guise of Sita being abducted, a war following, in reality what it is showing is a historic event. The Northern Empire of India was coming into contact with the Southern Empire of India. They had separate empires, separate civilizations, with Sri Lanka, etc. So there was conflict. Whenever civilizations meet, there is conflict, because friction, because they are different and they've got different approaches. So there was conflict in the guise of Sita getting abducted and Ram trying to rescue Sita. The deeper vision is, you want scientific answer. There was conflict of two civilizations, and this happens even now. Now look at the story of Ram. This is why I love this guy. He's a wonderful example for modern world. When civilizations meet, normally check out, especially the Anglo-Saxon civilization, wherever they went, they overran the people there, destroyed the civilization, murdered them. These red Indians being killed in North America, and cowboys go shooting them because they got better weapons. So once they win, they demolish. There's no end. Red Indians are put into little kind of camps where they cannot get drunk and die. So they took over the whole nation, destroyed the civilization that was there. There's hardly any trace of that older civilization. South America destroyed. North America destroyed, Australia destroyed, New Zealand destroyed. So you see, this is when a civilization meet, there's friction, and one civilization may win over because they got better armaments or whatever. But look, same happened with Ram. He won. Then he said, okay, now I destroy the people, kill them all, and I put a governor to rule you. You are my colony. Did he say that? He said, no, Vibhishan, you take over. We are best of friends. Then we have a bit of a conflict. We have sorted it out. Now you carry on, my friend. This is your kingdom. We act as best of friends from now on, and we assimilate and integrate the best of our both civilizations and produce a stronger civilization. The whole of India came together because of this Ram, not trying to conquer and colonize other nations. Comparing with the modern civilizations, even now today, when you look at the news, we can see this power-hungry major nations trying to in a way interfere with the lives and the living of other people. They are because they want to kind of grab them. They will try and demolish them. So you see, compare it with this ancient hero. That's why I say, my friends, this Diwali is not a minor feasting and fireworks festival. It's a festival celebrating, if you like, the evolution of humanity from being highly materialistic, highly animalistic, to becoming highly idealistic, highly spiritual. This is why this Ram is no minor character. So in fact, this is the deep, as you said, you want the scientific answer why Diwali is important. So I've given you a few reasons. Live for ideals, live for principles, assimilate and integrate things from other people, not on the civil, even other people. When you meet others, you learn best thing from them, integrate within your own system and grow. This is what Ram teaches. My friend, what more do you want? This is the height of Hindu philosophy in practice.
Free e-learning course in Hinduism. To register, please visit www.hindu-academy.com.
Talks on Hinduism. Sponsored by People Care. Encouraging caring for the elderly in their own homes. For more information, please visit peoplecare.com.
There you have it. So a really good video from Jay. And, who knew from the time whenever the video was taken, he had this thought about countries in Europe which are going to, sort of take over other countries and so on. And there we have things going on right now with Ukraine and Russia going on. So quite a vision he had of seeing things in advance. But let's move this conversation forward, and to bring this call ahead, I'd like to invite Manish Bhai. Today we've got the full team here. We've got Manish Bhai, Sitaben, Vijay Bhai, and Manish Bhai, over to you to carry on with the rest of the broadcast.
Thank you, Nisit Bhai. I think first question to you, Nisit Bhai, how do you plan to celebrate Diwali?
Well, tomorrow we're going to have dinner with my sister. Monday, it is a working day for us here in the Western world, so probably it's going to be work in the morning. But in the evening, we are going for Chopra Pujan to the Mandir, where we've been going every year for the past 10, 12 years. So we'll be going to Jalaram Mandir in Greenfield.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nisit Bhai, for sharing that.
There was also an invitation to join the Swaminarayan temple for that lovely Ankut they have. But because of the clash on Monday, we will now be going on Wednesday instead and enjoy the new year there as well.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. Vijay Bhai, what's your plan for celebrating Diwali?
No, actually, no, I think more than me, my wife has done lots of plans already. It's all been set up. As Nishit Bhai mentioned, we will go to a couple of dinners, meet friends, and go to temple as well. So I have to go to temple as well. My mom will not like it either. So temple visits, and also, of course, take part in Ankut celebrations, Aarti. So a lot of interesting and good things to do. Yeah.
And Sitaben?
Yeah, similar kind of thing. So Monday, we're going to take my daughter to go and see the fireworks at the Mandir. And then Wednesday, we're going to the Leeson Temple again, just to look at the beautiful decorations and everything they have. And yeah, it's a lovely time for family and everyone to get together.
That's wonderful to hear. Yeah, similar with me. We'll be doing a little bit of firework as well. Kids enjoy it. We'll be doing Rangoli and visiting the temple and yes, eating lots of sweets and good stuff that not too good for health, but we'll have fun. And that's the way we celebrate. And coming back to Jay Bhai's video, you know, he said Diwali represents Bhagwan Ram, who is representing this evolution from animalistic humans to highly idealistic, highly spiritual nature of the human beings. What's your say on that, Vijay?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I think the video which we just saw just now is really good because so comprehensive and covers almost every facet of the beauty of Diwali. But yes, you can imagine, Manish Bhai, that in think about nearly 2500 BC at least, really old. I mean, at least 500, 600. I can't remember, but a long time ago, we had a Lord Ram who was thinking like that. Can you imagine that? Even now, even today, people are fighting for greed and power and hunger. Yet 2,500 years ago, that's a long time ago. People hadn't evolved with all this science, technology, all that. Yet his thought of Ram at that time was so highly evolved. It's absolutely amazing. I think as a Hindu faith, they're immensely lucky to have somebody as magnanimous as a taller figure as Ram in our, in a part of our religion. Is absolutely amazing. Because as Jay Bhai mentioned, the idea of, living for others, yeah, not living for principles, these are very powerful ideas. And I think I'm so glad we show this video because quite often in Diwali, we spend a lot of time having fun, which is good. I'm not saying we shouldn't have fun. We should have fireworks, food, visit temples, meet friends, enjoy. But the key message that Lord Ram represents, the embodiment of Ram, I think that's the key thing. We have to try and imbibe those qualities into us. If we do that, then we are celebrating Diwali in really true fashion. Sitaben?
Yeah, and I think you've covered it amazingly. So Ram is just one of those amazing individuals that stand out through history and has influenced not just India, but the story of Ram has gone all over sort of Southeast Asia and all over the world, even towards the Caribbean. They love Ram as well. So it's gone all over the world. This beautiful personality called Ram and his wife Sita as well, they both completely sacrificed their own happiness and their own comfort for the betterment of others. They were, they were living in beautiful palaces. They had so much wealth, so much power. They gave it up just like that for the sake of a principle, which is something that even though, we call ourselves, we should have evolved over the last, 2,000 years, we're still pretty much in the same boat. You get all these people fighting wars and trying to get more and more property and possession. Whereas, as Vijay Bhai said, 2,000 years ago, somebody had the guts to say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something for the betterment of everyone. And that's really what all of our Hindu philosophy is all about, is living for others, having a more principle-oriented approach to our life, because ultimately all this property and possessionism, however much you accumulate, it will never be enough. And it's one of those lessons that humanity is still yet to learn. And Ram has sat there for thousands of years telling us, come on, think about something higher, think about something deeper.
It's wonderful to hear, Sitaben, Vijay Bhai. So Sitaben, this, as Jai Bhai said, he whole of his life he lived for others. How can we live for others? What can we do?
Well, this is the thing. You can start off in a very humble way. I mean, if you're living in a family environment, always put the needs of your parents, your grandparents, your children over your own needs. You always tend to think about others before yourself within just the simple context of a family setting. Make sure that everyone else has got their food before you have. Make sure all of their needs are met before your own. So you can start off in a very small and very humble way. And if you have the luxury of going out into the greater world, if you're in your work environment, in your community, any opportunity you have at every sort of moment of time, if you have an opportunity, should I do something for myself or for this person or that person? It's best to always put the other person first. So it's one of those beautiful ideals that we can live in a very small and simple way. Through every single gesture we live in our everyday life, we can show that we live for others. And it may seem like a bit of a difficult exercise because we're so used to always thinking about me all the time. So it's one of those sort of mental exercises we should try and put to ourselves to say, look, here I have a choice. Do I feed myself first, or do I feed my child first, or my grandparents or my parents first? So it starts off in a very simple way, and then it will become a way of life for you. That's just how you live. And that will really impact on everyone around you. And in return, they will also want to reciprocate in the nicest possible way. But you're not doing it for the sake of reciprocity. You're doing it because you're sharing the same spirit. What's inside you is inside everyone around you. And that's the way you can live a really fulfilling life. So it's not reciprocity or business transaction. It's because that's your nature. That's who you actually are. Vijay Bhai?
Yeah, I think Sita, you have got it very beautifully. All I can do is we can also extend that further, as Sita mentioned. Once you get the habit of serving others, you can extend that idea to serving the animal kingdom. If you go to India, I've seen that people actually feed ants. They throw little food for ants. They feed the dog, the cow. That's what Hinduism is about. I mean, and that's what we learn from these great personalities that we have. I mean, it's quite interesting that as part of the syllabus, we teach about karma mar, which Sita just mentioned, living for others, the same spirit. And actually, even Krishna says that even I do selfless service. Although I have nothing to gain from the world, I do it. Why? Because the impact of doing selfless service to others, and if everybody does that, then we all evolve and become better persons, right? Because the whole society improves. Look, let's help each other out. It comes naturally. And this is a very key fundamentals of Hindu ideas, that helping others is not just helping, it's bringing the entire society up together. The whole society lifts up. All this idea we hear all the time, we should be egalitarian, we should do equal distribution. But it starts from this very basic principle, live for others. And what more than great, Vishnu, avatar of Vishnu Ram teaches us all these ideas. And what more can you have as an example? All you now got to do is just follow it. That's what you got to do, Manish Bhai.
Wonderful to hear that, Sita Ben Vijay Bhai. So the next question is, how to live an idealistic life? Because in a modern life where you're trying to, do well in your profession and try to do well for yourself and the family, how do the ideals come in? How do we put it in practically use, Vijay Bhai?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if we live in a world where, there's a lot of, Sita mentioned me, myself. I think, of course, you have to get your basic needs sorted out first. So you don't have to worry about it all the time while you're serving others. But as Sita mentioned, you have to be content with what you have. There'll never be enough, right? No matter how much there'll never be enough. You'll always want more. That is kind of greed. And that's what you are really fighting, to kind of give up desires and be content with what you have. And that's the way you live this ideal life, is to be content with what you have. If you have enough to get by this, okay, I'm doing really well. Let me focus on helping others. And that's the next step. Of course, there's so much competition in the world. People are having, better cars than you. And to fight that is so hard sometimes, because you're driven by this, whole ecosystem where everybody wants to buy better things, everyone wants to compete with others. And that's why, I really admire Jay Bhai. That's why we see he's our guru, because he had so much, but he gave it, just flicked it away, right? Why? To serve others. And that's something we all have to learn, right? And there are very few examples, but I think the more we do this, the more we learn. But the main thing is the mindset, and not to go with this materialistic kind of flow, which is flowing everywhere. Not just jump on the bandwagon. Otherwise, you just become a zombie and just follow like everybody else. Try and get out of that and see, no, actually, there's more to life than just consume, me. So I think the first thing is to change your mindset and accept that you're already content with what you have. And that's the best way to start. Then you start serving others. Sita?
Yeah, I completely agree. So as Vijay Bhai said, we need to make sure that our own basic needs are met first. Otherwise, we become a burden on everyone else around us. So we have to make sure our basic needs are met. But then we have to sort of take a bit of an ideological step and realize that any kind of happiness that we seek from the material world is always limited, and it always involves taking from somebody else. Any kind of material happiness, suppose, it's like, you're all trying to grab a ticket to the latest music concert. You taking a ticket means that somebody else loses out on the chance of having it. So any kind of happiness that you get from the material world is limited. In a way, it's kind of tainted because somebody else has to pay the price of not getting it. What you have got. So it's very limited. The happiness that you get in a non-material sense from the metaphysical world, from the sort of more spiritual realm, is something which is abundant and flowing, and there it's just infinite. It's not limited by sort of material limitations that, oh, I've only got this and you can't have it because I've got it. So it's a case of recognizing that your happiness will come from that realm and not from the material realm. As Vijay Bhai said, however much you accumulate materially, it will never be enough. You think, oh, I'm going to have this much in my bank balance, and then when you hit that, you're like, oh, actually, I'd rather have a bit more. And it keeps going on, and then your whole life is completely finished that way. So it's better to recognize that you have enough for yourself. Make sure you then focus your energies on the needs of others.
That's wonderful to hear, Sitaben, Vijay Bhai. So Diwali is celebrated over a number of days, and there's different things happening. Could you please explain those days and what they mean, Sitaben?
Yes, so throughout there's 5 days of Diwali. So you have, festivals which are dedicated to the goddess Lakshmi, Ganesh. You have Jobra Pujan, which is worshipping the books, so goddess Saraswati. Obviously, Ram and Sita, all of that comes in as well. There's also another aspect to Diwali, which is Bhai Beej, where the brother and sister they meet. Usually, the sister will have the brothers round to their home and ask them to come for dinner. And it's a way of really sort of having this human relationships as well. As Dad has said many times in videos, there are so many different elements to festivals. You have the historical or mythological significance, you have the whole community aspect and the human relationships that you develop through these kinds of festivals as well. And we worship a whole load of different gods and goddesses during this time. And a lot of people, they like to do things like putting rangoli outside their home. They put little footsteps of the mother goddess Lakshmi in the hope that she will come into their home and bring them prosperity and wealth. And Ganesh, of course, is the one who removes obstacles. So he is also worshipped during the time of Diwali. So we've got lots of lovely ceremonials that we can do during this time. It's a time to pause and reflect and wish for good things for our family, but more importantly for those around us as well. Vijay bhai?
No, I think Sita, you have covered it pretty well. Yeah, so I think we have all these different days to cover different facets of, human aspirations, like Dhanteras, the idea of wealth, Lakshmi Puja, then we have courage others, which literally means in the 14th day of the dark, side. So that we have. Then we have Diwali, of course, at the end of the year when Ram came back. Again, it's a mythological significance. Right? When Ram coming back on on Diwali, and people light the lamps, Deepavali, row of lights. And then, of course, the next day we have the New Year, which is on the Vikram Samvat calendar, or we have Govardhan Puja as well in some cases. So again, idea of a mixture of all different facets of Hinduism, either mythological event, personal event, relationships. So a very beautiful 5 days, which covers all facets of, human life. So yeah, good time to celebrate everything.
Okay, Vijay bhai, Annakut festival is done as well at temples. What is that about, and what kind of do we eat at Diwali?
Oh, absolutely. It's wonderful because I know currently my mother is going to the temple every day. And sometimes also, I know my wife goes as well to make special dishes. I mean, the thing is, we all, we take food for granted. I mean, God has given us so much, happiness and wealth, and basic need for every human being is food, right? So how do we thank God for all the wonderful, nourishment that He's given us for the whole year? Is to offer something back to God, right? So we make all these different amazing dishes to offer to God as a show of thanks. And I know some temple, I think Nizam temple make over 1,000 different dishes. Even the local temple, they make a good 200, 300 different dishes, every kind of dishes. Everybody's excited about it. And everybody goes, I'll make this special stuff, My wife is an expert in khandvi, so she makes us khandvi. My mother makes, this rotlas. So everybody's making all kinds of stuff, right? Amazing stuff. I think it's wonderful to see that. The other good thing about that is that as a side effect, is community comes together. Everybody works together in a one group, come in and make food together. And that's absolutely amazing. And I mean, as Sita mentioned, human relationships are so important. When you do this kind of activities together, it binds and bonds everybody. It's a very nice feeling. And on the whole, it makes us progress as society as well. So all in all, a fantastic festival, the idea of Annakut. Sita?
Yeah, I think you've covered it amazingly. Not much more to add. I mean, I guess it's just a way of giving thanks to God for everything that He or She has given to us. There's beautiful displays in so many temples around the world. I know the most local one to us is the Neasden Temple. It has such beautiful, elaborate sort of displays of all the food and everything. It's definitely worth going to see if you can.
Okay. Next question. Many people light lamps in their house and put the lamps in different places in house. So what does that signify? Sita?
So this is the other thing we haven't mentioned yet, is that Diwali comes at a time where, the days are getting short, there's a lot of darkness around. So it's a time where we like to bring light into our homes because everything is so dark outside. So it's also a symbolic gesture of saying, good over evil, light over darkness. But as Dad said, it's not just as simplistic as that. There is a much deeper philosophy behind it. In a way, it's kind of like making sure we remind ourselves of the spirit that we actually are, and not just this material frame. So yes, this idea of bringing light into our homes is something which, you have in Diwali, but you have in so many festivals of world religions, Christmas, and, all of these beautiful festivals around the world. They all kind of tend to celebrate this end of year time where winter is approaching, days are getting darker, and we like to light up our homes and our lives in this way. Vijay bhai?
Yeah, I think Sita, you pretty much covered. I think to add on top of that as well is that us Hindus, we love money as a lot, right? So some people say that if you don't have light and there's no illumination in the house, then Lakshmi won't come to give you wealth, right? Who wants to go in a dark house, basically? So I think people also tend to take this idea as well. I mean, also, of course, light is also welcoming because when you have light in your house, you welcome people, right? Who wants to go into a dark house, right? So I think there's many, I mean, lamps are very important in Hinduism. I mean, fire is the earliest form of, worship in Hinduism. So lamps have got multiple facets of meaning. And I would say the best one is what Sita mentioned, bring, light into our lives. Yeah.
Wonderful to hear that. So Vijay Bhai, Ram has inspired many of us. Most of us, look up to Ram for guidance. How has Ram inspired qualities like Jalaram Baba?
I mean, if you look at Jalaram Bapa's life, it's absolutely amazing because his life is revolving around the fact that Lord Ram is what he cares about, nothing else. And that's why we love him so much. It's quite with Jalaram Bapa and I think Veerbai, wife, I forgot the name of Veerbai. They too, it's amazing, like Ramakrishna Paramas. The marriage was purely spiritual. There was no physical at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they're inspired by personalities like Lord Ram. And once Lord Ram came to lives, their life kind of illuminated 100 times. You may think, oh, I've got a big car, big house. When you get life of Jalaram Bapa, when he heard of Ram and he realized the idea of beauty of Ram, he didn't need anything else. That inspired him. I mean, same like Tulsidas. Tulsidas' story is very amazing if you look at his story. I don't know if you may have heard of it, Manish, by that. He was, when Tulsidas got married, he loved his wife so much. He couldn't even stay for a little while without his wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know that story, right? Wherever he goes, he follows her, even in the market. And people in this, I think Varanasi thought he was really silly. It sounds, because in those days, you don't do that. You don't follow your wives, right? Wives used to follow you. But he used to follow his wife everywhere. And people said, look at this silly man. He's so, besotted by his wife. And then once, for some reason, he would never let her go to her, back to her own parents' house because he would miss her. But one day she had to go. Tulsidas actually followed her. He couldn't stay without her. So he followed her and looked from a little door and he saw. And luckily his wife actually saw that. And his wife told him one thing which changed his life. He told him, you have so much love for this flesh and body and bones, right? Under the skin, I'm just flesh and body. What if you show so much, this much love to Ram? Imagine what will happen to your life. And suddenly for him, the lamp clicked in him and he's changed his life totally. And from that day, he realized, and that's why we go to Tulsi Ramayana, and that's inspired millions of us, right? So Lord Ram's life is not just, you don't have to be a clever intellectual, right? Or learn expert in reading, Hindi or whatever. Just his life enough. Forget everything else. His life is enough to inspire you. And there have been so many examples. I think in the south of India is Purandar Das. There's so many Ram Bhaktas in India who just by looking at his life, forget anything else, have been inspired. And I think we need to learn from these great personalities and see how much they achieve. The words of Tulsidas, the words come from Tulsidas, it's just natural. Why? Because Lord Ram sits in him, right? This is what we want to aspire to be, Sita.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are so many incredible individuals who've been inspired by the personality of Ram, and it's examples of these kinds of individuals which make us think that Ram was probably a historical figure. He's not just some kind of make-believe. The fact that he's had such a huge impact on the lives of these amazing people who have then gone on to make such a difference to so many more lives. All around the world, his sort of message has sort of spread, through the diaspora, through all of these sort of people traveling around the world from India and just carrying the story of Ram in their hearts and then living those principles. It's such a beautiful story, and it's unique because, as Dad said in the video, there is no king. I can't think of any other king in the history of humanity who has won a battle and then hands the kingdom back over to the defeated party. I can't even think of any king. So it's completely unique. It's completely spiritual. And in the heart, what's so beautiful is in the heart of a so-called sort of secular or materialistic role as a king, he was able to live the most highest sort of spiritual ideals. And that's something that all kings throughout the world, all rulers should really look up to and aspire to.
This brings us wonderfully to the next question from Ian Pridew. He's saying, is there a conflict between wanting wealth from gods and pursuing spiritual values? Because it seems like soon as we try to go this idealistic way, we probably will lose the job and lose many friends and maybe end up poor. What's your take on this, Sitaben?
Yeah, so it's really good. Hinduism is very practical in the sense that one of the aims of human life, according to Hinduism, is artha, which means acquiring wealth. So we never vilify the concept of acquiring wealth, going out there and earning a living, because if we don't do that, if the whole of society says, "Oh, we abandon everything," the whole of society will fall apart. No one will be able to look after anybody else. So it recognizes the practical nature of, yes, money is important for fulfilling our material needs and making sure we have shelter and food and we can look after our families and communities. But it's really saying is that all of us will hit a stage in our life where, we've got enough, we've got our material needs are met. And it's time to then take a step away from all of these sort of material needs to focus on something higher, because it's very easy to fall into the trap of saying, yes, money's good, and I'll keep earning more and more and more until I eventually die in the saddle. And that's really not what the point of spiritual living is all about. So it's about all of us going through that journey and making money, doing what we can, earning as much as we can, supporting those around us, but then at some point thinking, I've done enough now, I need to take a step back and focus on something a bit deeper, something higher. So the wonderful thing is we've got examples of incredible individuals who, in the midst of a so-called materialistic life, they are able to live the highest sort of spiritual principles. So it's literally, it depends on what point in the journey you are, that you are earning loads of money or you're focusing on something higher. So Vijay, any thoughts?
I think you're pretty much covered, Sita. But all I can add is that it reminds me of, the dialogue, I think, in the Gita, where Krishna says that, there are 4 kinds of devotees. And he goes, one of them is, of course, the curious one. The other one goes to God because of, illness or suffering. And there's one, of course, who wants to ask for wealth. And Krishna goes, it's okay. You can, even if you ask for wealth, I'll communicate with you. So all kinds of bhakti, even if you want to ask for wealth from God, he will not mind. So you can do that as well. But of course, we have, as Sita mentioned, we have to balance this and focus, eventually try and move towards spiritual values.
Okay, Vijay bhai, we got a question from Arjun Ravu. Is asking, please guide upon fire bursting ritual known as Ulka Danam in Sanatan Hindu Dharma. Okay. He's talking about Ulka Danam, which is related to, in a way, the fireworks. Now, I think I've seen a video as well, a viral video where somebody's saying the Ulka Danam or this thing is mentioned in Skanda Puran and it's all as per scripture. What's your take on this?
Okay, first of all, the idea of fireworks, right? I mean, I'll be honest with you. Talking practically, fireworks came, I think, in the world about 200 years ago. Practical fireworks that we use. I mean, they've always been gunpowder and fireworks for 2,000 years. But on a house, daily household basis, there were no fireworks that old. Only, I think, about 200 years ago, more than 200 years, actually fireworks as a personal use came into being. So there was no fireworks before that, right? It's coming as a new event. But nevertheless, I think for Diwali or some function, so I think when you say that there's been fireworks in very ancient scriptures, you have to think a bit, because it may be something else to have fun with. Maybe having some lighting a bonfire or something, which is fine. But fireworks as per se are not there. So we have to be careful when we say that there was fireworks. There was none of these little bombs, all these things we use, or the stars. They didn't exist. Let's be honest about it. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I think the key issue is here, there's a conflict nowadays that people say you can't do fireworks. I think that there are a lot of practical solutions. You can have green fireworks. Fireworks don't give that much smoke. So I think sometimes it becomes a sort of political battle about fireworks. So as a celebration, I'm for fireworks, to be honest. But I would say use nice fireworks. You don't damage the environment, but please do them. Don't feel that you should be totally blocked. I know there's a lot of political battle in India, but I'm not going to fall into that kind of trap. But I think practically. So as fun, yes, bonfire, yes. But as cracking fireworks, I don't think so. Yeah, Sita.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a bit of a sort of difficult situation because everyone is so environmentally aware these days. So everyone thinks, oh, it's not good for the environment, the pollution, the noise, and you know, if you think about it, animals, they also might get distressed by all this loud banging noise and all of that. So we have to try and balance it. As Vijay Bhai said, try and find green solutions to these kinds of things. These days, everyone is so innovative and they're able to come up with solutions which sort of fulfill both needs. The fact that you want to celebrate, yes, good, it's a wonderful thing to do. And it's not just something that, you know, we do during Diwali. You've got bonfire night around the corner. You've got so many, you know, people around the world that use fireworks, New Year's Eve. So it's one of those things that we have to kind of evolve with the times and try and find solutions which can try and keep as many people happy as possible.
That's wonderful to hear, Sitaben. So, you know, I saw on Facebook somebody saying this war between Ukraine and Russia happening, they're dropping bomb on each other. That's not affecting the environment. But Hindus doing fireworks creates a hell. It's a problem. And it seems like many Hindu festivals, all these things come up, this green currency come out only at temple. It's like to stop Hindus celebrating. What's your view on this, Sitaben?
Yeah, it doesn't really seem fair if we're the only ones being targeted. I mean, we're not the only people in the planet that use fireworks, and we're not the only people who celebrate and do these things. So we have to make sure that it's a balanced, you know, that balanced thing. And we have to make sure that we are not the ones who are constantly under attack. We have to make sure we stand up for ourselves and say, hang on, it's not just us doing it. It's the whole rest of the world use fireworks as well. And it really reminds me very much of many years ago, Dad was involved with some kind of issue around the swastika, and there was a movement to say that the swastika should be banned because obviously of the link with Nazi and, you know, Hitler and all of the negative connotations to do with swastika. And Dad was like, hang on, what about the cross? The cross was used by the Ku Klux Klan, and why are you not going around banning the cross then? And then they just didn't say anything because it's not fair. It's our symbol of auspiciousness, and it's not fair that it was misused by the Nazis. But that doesn't mean that we then are not allowed to use it. It should be banned. If that's the case, then the cross should be banned then. It's not fair. So we have to make sure we stand our ground and don't let our integrity be compromised. Vijay Bhai?
I think that's absolutely right, Sita. I think quite often the way to kind of get a religion down is to attack its symbols. It is, you know, it's very subtle, by the way. And I think I was quite upset when I saw, I think in Delhi, I believe, there's a total ban on fireworks. That just shows that actually that's an anti-Hindu act. What they could have done is, look, we understand there's a pollution issue. If they're really genuine, they said, look, let's find some green solutions. Because I think other states in India are allowing green fireworks, like really jalebis or stuff like that. Yeah, those small fire, not those big ones which throw a lot of smoke. But so many fireworks we have which are actually green in nature, and people are having a good time, like, you know, the sparklers. So it is happening. So when there's total ban in fireworks, I think that personally, sorry to say, I think that's totally anti-Hindu. Because if you're genuine, you take the people's concerns into account. So look, let's find a solution. Let's work together and find a solution. Well, that's what Lord Ram is about, isn't it? With this kind of divide today. You know, live for high ideas, work together, you know, find solutions together. But if you don't want to do that, then I think it's wrong. And you're right, the amount of environment damage by one bomb is worth thousands of fireworks. Some of these bombs they actually do so much damage, right? So much, you know, smoke, pollution, you know, concrete everywhere. Yet you see people don't say anything, right? So I think sometimes we have to balance and think. But the best way is to solve this problem is use, because look, we have the science, the technology, we have people, really clever people out there. In Sita mentioned, very innovative people out there. Let's use them and let's find a solution where everybody can be happy.
It's wonderful to hear. Thank you, Vijay Bhai and Sitaben. Take next question. We're not getting many questions from viewers today. Please do send your questions if you do have them. So Rangoli, what's the idea behind Rangoli, Vijay Bhai?
Okay, Rangoli is really good because it is basically to welcome someone to your house at this auspicious time of Diwali. So the more elaborate patterns you make, you know, the more you want to welcome. It's a welcoming kind of act, you know. So you know, say, look, people are going to come to my house, Diwali, to visit us, friends and family. Let me show them, you know, how I'm welcoming. And one way to welcome is making rangolis. And I remember, I think in India, a lot of, I think my mother said that a lot of friends get together to compete. who's going to make the best. They don't look at each other's Rangoli. They just make it themselves, and they don't anybody. And when the day comes, they all go out. Okay, now let's go to each other and see who's the best. So in a way, it's a very, very fun activity, right? Because you want to make beautiful intricate patterns. You want to make your house look really beautiful. So when guests come, they feel very welcome because you're doing it for them. I mean, if you do it for yourself, okay, 2-3 days, then what, right? So you're doing it for that. So Rangoli is in a way a very good art, traditional art, which is welcoming. So I think it's a very good thing. Again, it's to do with human relationships and, building bonds in society and community. So it's a very good thing, I think. Sita?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, anything which is colourful and decorative makes us feel uplifted. That's why we have all these decorations in our home, not just for Diwali, but for Christmas and all these kinds of festivities. And the more colourful, the better, especially Hinduism is such a colourful religion. We love colour and brightness. So any opportunity to do that is welcomed. And my daughter loves doing it. And then we end up having so much powder sprayed all around the house. But it's part of the fun of Diwali for sure.
Is it boy? Okay, we take one more question. Industrial Air Cooler has asked, which is best book on practical Vedanta by Swami Vivekananda? Sitaven?
To be honest, I think anything you read by Swami Vivekananda is wonderful. There's his lecture, The Absolute and the Manifestation. There are so many lectures of his, and it depends on what you feel like reading at the time. He's got so many books on Raj Yoga and different kinds of yogas and all sorts of things, and all of it is just magic. And when you read it, you just feel so uplifted, and you forget all about your silly little problems. You just think about something higher. So I think anything that's written by Swami Vivekananda is just beautiful. Vijay?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Vivekananda, all of Swami Vivekananda's talks are actually based on practical application of Vedanta. Because every lecture he gave, mainly in the United States, in the UK, even India, are actually geared to practical understanding of Hinduism. I mean, I would say that the one book we can use is a summary of the collections, because of the 9 volumes, which will take a long time. It took me a couple of years to read them, but there's one which collects all the best lectures from all of these volumes, and in one volume, I think it's called Summary of Collections. That's perhaps a very good kind of reference book to have. It covers the Absolute Manifest and quite a different facets of his beautiful lectures. So that's all I can add. That try and get a book summary of collection of his lectures. That I think would be a kind of book. But as I said, Sita mentioned, everything is amazing about Swami Vivekananda. So really, actually speaking, you can't choose, but I would say go for this. In my view, that's only my personal view.
Fabulous. So, folks, it's been almost 50 minutes, I think, since we started, and we've had a great session so far. So we learned about Diwali, what it is, how it is celebrated. This year it starts from Monday, this coming Monday. And we've learned a lot of the deeper aspects about Diwali as well. And we discussed more topical things, like, for example, we looked at the impact of fireworks and the environment, but also balancing it with the need of us as Hindus being allowed to celebrate the way we traditionally do celebrate. So it's about bringing a balance in everything. And before we go ahead, I'd like to just share a couple of resources with those of you who are new to our broadcast. So we have a course available. Actually, we've got 3 courses available. This is over on hindu-academy.coachzippy.com. And we've got 3 courses. One is the basics of Hinduism. This course, as you can see, has got 8,464 students enrolled. And it's basically got information that will help you get a great start into your journey in discovering more about Hinduism. The next course we've got here, the basics of Sanskrit, and there we have over 1,100 students enrolled. And then I had a goal of getting to 10,000 in the school overall. I think we've crossed that because we have 835 students also enrolled in our advanced GCSE course for those students who are going to be sitting for the Cambridge O-level Hinduism exams. So I think a huge round of applause to you all for taking part and helping us get to the goal I had in mind of 10,000 students overall. If you haven't enrolled, It is free to do so. All you have to do is go to our website, which is hindu-academy.com, and you can sign up here where it says click here. And if you've got any technical trouble, you can reach out to me. My details are here. You can also download the PDF ebooks that we have got on Hinduism for primary schools and Hinduism for schools as well. So these are the books that were written by Jaybai and Sita Ben, and they were on sale before, but now they are available freely to you as a resource to enjoy. We also have our various other resources that are available for you, including our YouTube channel, where Manish Bhai, what are the figure we crossed recently in terms of views?
We've reached overall 10 million views now, so we are over 10 million.
So this is the week where we celebrate Diwali by hitting not one, but two of the goals that I had set out this year. One was to cross 10 million views. One was to cross 100,000 subscribers. We've long passed that. And one was to cross 10,000 students on our school. So well done to everybody who has helped contribute and move this thing one step forward. So the next goal for us in our YouTube channel is to get to 1 million views. And we are a long way away from that. The only way we're going to get there is with your help and support as well. So Manish Bhai, back to you for some closing final thoughts on this, fantastic celebration in the Hindu calendar. And then maybe we can wrap it up.
Thank you. Yes, Diwali is a wonderful time to spend with family and think of others as well as personally like Jalaram Bapa. So do enjoy, do have the foods and fireworks in limited quantity, and let's do something for others as well. I think that is the main thing. Thinking about personality of Sri Ram and the ideals and living for others, we should imbibe in our lives. Sita-Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to remember, yes, we have this sort of period of a few days to remember and reflect, but we should always have a takeaway message as well. And the takeaway message for the rest of the year is to, live for others, always put the needs of others before your own. And, we shouldn't forget that. Even when it's not Diwali, we should always remember that in our everyday, day-to-day lives. Vijay Bhai?
Yeah, I think one thing to add, Manish Bhai, is that, the Diwali function, I think is very, very critical, especially now. And India, we've always had the issue that India has been seen in, so to say, a secular state, all this, but really speaking, we are actually a dharmic civilization. And I've seen something really good in India recently, that people are actually working hard to serve others. In where I come from, there's so many kitchens opened up. People are feeding the poor on the streets, trying to get them education. So it means the ideas of Lord Ram, which is what we're celebrating now in Diwali, is now coming to the fore. And I hope as time goes by, India is becoming more and more aware of the dharmic history and dharmic, backbone, as I call it, right? And go towards that more and more, because that's what our life is about, right? How to serve others and use Lord Ram as an embodiment of dharma. That's why we call Lord Ram, Adarsh Purusha. Some people call him Dharmaraj as well in that sense, right? So the idea of how do we get these principles of dharma, serving others, doing our duty, all this, how do we imbibe those? And I think at Diwali time, it's remind ourselves what does it truly mean. And let's discuss, and how do we know what it truly means? By looking at Lord Ram's example, right? What dharma is all about, and try and get that into place. If we do that, then I don't think anybody can touch Hinduism, because that is the key, roots of Hinduism. And I can see more and more now as Hindus become aware of the civilization and of the dharma, and the dharmic ideas, is becoming more and more kind of progressing more and more. And in many ways, it's very wonderful to see that. So I think when I look at this, I see Swami Vivekananda's words coming true. That India is going to, is coming up again, and the youth will drive that. Because as time goes by, all these ideas are coming to fore again and again. And then I hope that eventually India and the idea of Hindu dharma, what it truly represents, would come into the fore. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Fabulous. So, folks, may this Diwali bring you smiles as bright as the diyas that you celebrate it with. And we wish you all from us, the team here at Hindu Academy, we wish you and your loved ones a very safe, happy, healthy, and prosperous Diwali. And may the year ahead be your best one yet. So with that, I'd like to close with a quote. We normally have a quote from Swami Vivekananda, but today it's Diwali, so I'm going to share another Diwali quote. This is running along the lines of what Vijay Bhai had said. So it says that Diwali is a symbol of hope for humankind. May it bring universal compassion, inner joy of peace, love, and the awareness of unity for all. Happy Diwali from the team at Hindu Academy. And we wish you all a fantastic Hindu New Year ahead, all those of you who are celebrating. Bye-bye for now. Thank you for being a fantastic audience. See you next week on Saturday, 2 o'clock UK time.